We are joined by American soccer broadcasting legend, Adrian Healey. Adrian, it's great to see you, man.
Oh, it's great to see you too, Landon. It's great to see your Verde scarf draped over a guitar behind you as well. That's a sight I love very much.
Yeah, so it was a long season last season. We have an extra long season ahead of us now. Did
We do.
you get to rest a little bit during the off season? Any highlights from your time off?
Uh, Rest as in away from soccer, no, because I basically went to watch the World Cup in England. That was kind of my rest, and it was. I didn't have to work it, so I treated myself to going back there for 3 weeks. Watched the first week of the tournament here. Was here for the England US game, and then went back for the next 3 weeks and was able to watch it in a more conducive time zone, which meant in bars and such in the evening. So that was fantastic because that's the first time I've actually been in the UK for a World Cup for a long, long time, longer than I care to mention. But then it was back to Austin for Christmas, and actually I've been doing a fair amount of games. I've been doing some Spanish La Liga games for ESPN, just right out of the Longhorn network here in Austin. Use their facilities there. So that's been a lot of stuff for me doing that in January. Oh, I did manage 3 days in Costa Rica too. So
Oh,
that's been a
nice.
good off season, but I'm raring to go.
I love it. Um, I wondered about that. People were talking about hearing you doing La Liga games. I'd assume that you did not like fly to Spain to call those. So it's good. I was curious about the logistics. Now you do have a new broadcasting gig for this season too. So let's talk a little bit about how's the prep work going for this Apple TV launch.
Well, it has been, like all startups, I think, and this is what this is. It's a major startup involving hundreds of people and many, many moving parts and sort of a grand vision and two very different organizations in Apple and MLS coming together. It's I got to tell you, it's been kind of crazy. But somehow games will appear on television screens in less than 2 weeks now, and yeah, I'm kind of, in a way, I have the easy job. I mean, I just have to basically do the same as I was doing before, turn up and call games. But I can tell you, there's been a whole host of months and months of sort of planning and meeting and head scratching and mission statements. I think it's going to be really cool eventually. I don't know what it's going to be like to start off with. I must add that the great sadness I have at the moment with the Apple deal is that my good friend and partner Michael Lahoud is not yet a part of it, and I do think that's a huge omission on their part, and I think it's something that they will eventually put right, but it's been such a scramble. I think they've just been focused on getting on the air on February the 25th, and I think he eventually will be a part of it, but he's not on opening day, and that saddens me. So there you have it. Just a, my good friend Michael deserves to be a part of it. Sonny Guadarrama is a part of it, which is great. So
Yeah.
there's plenty of Austin. There's plenty of Austin centric focus to have, and can't wait to get going. I'm actually doing a test game Wednesday night this week at Q2. They're bringing Sacramento, and that'll be a full. I'll be able to answer your question a lot more fully after that night, where I get a look at what may be different. I think there's going to be some different graphic looks and some stats may be different. It's just going to look kind of Appley, for want of a better term, but it is. I think it will be really cool once it gets going.
We wanted to ask you a little bit about like who your broadcast partners might be here in a little bit, but before we get there, like you said that it's going to be kind of the same old job once you get started. Is that true of this venture? Like once you start calling games, is it going to feel exactly the same as it has, or is this venture completely new on all levels and it is going to be different from anything you've ever done?
I always say, as a commentator, your essential job is the 90 minutes, and that doesn't really change. I mean, there can be little things that change about it, certain points of emphasis. Like if we have a new kind of stats package, and there's a new focus on Apple sort of incorporating stuff visually, then that will change the job a little bit. But the essential job is still sitting there enjoying a game and calling it and interacting with your partner. That doesn't change. It doesn't matter who the outlet is. So no, it is the same. I always say they can never take the 90 minutes away from you. It's a beautiful thing. It's like the game. Whatever happens outside it, once you get to the 90 minutes, you're still focused on calling the game the best you can. So that will remain the same.
Yeah, and so when you think about you mentioned that things will be different later in the year, at the end of the year than the start, but you don't feel like necessarily inside the 90 minutes, like the job that you and your partner do, you feel like those will probably be essentially the same, and it'll just be like the packaging and the things around it that'll change.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a different experience for the viewer. I'm saying from a personal point of view as a commentator, it's essentially the same job. I think the viewer ultimately will have perhaps a very different, a lot more options. I think the whip around show will be amazing. And I think there's going to be a pre-game show involved. The studio side of it, the studio support, everything kind of packaged around a game that we've seen, maybe a Sky Sports do so well in the UK over the years with all their big games. It's going to be that sort of treatment, that sort of coverage. So I think as the viewer sat at home on a Saturday night, being able to watch essentially 14 games in the space of 5 hours, it's going to be a remarkable experience. But
I'm pretty excited about that whip around show. Yeah. I think that'll be cool.
Yeah, me too. I actually loved doing whip around shows. My time at ESPN, it's always a lot of fun. It's like, the purists are like, well, you don't get to see a whole game, but I mean, it's like when you've got multi games happening. I mean, who doesn't love the Champions League whip around shows? We can go, let's go to Istanbul. It's a goal, or they've hit the post in Paris. It's great. It's real theater. So love that.
So we will be sad to see you without Mr. Lahoud sitting next to you, but I'm excited to see who you're going to be partnered with. Like, I guess my first question is, will you have a permanent broadcast partner, or are you going to be kind of mixing it up every week?
So the answer is, the plan right now is yes, but that plan, like many things in year one, is probably subject to a certain amount of tweaking and change. But yes, as far as I know right now, my partner is going to be Kobe Jones. Who,
all right.
Is best known as he did the LA Galaxy games for many years, and obviously was a storied player. And interestingly, I've never actually worked with Kobe before, because he was always on the Fox side of things when I was on the ESPN side of things. But I've always enjoyed his company whenever I've met him, which hasn't been that many times. And he has a nice kind of relaxed, laid-back demeanor about the game and about life in general, which I think will go well together. So, but he's based in LA. I'm here in Austin. So as soon as we saw that pairing, we were both like, one of us is traveling each week, or maybe we both are. So yeah.
That was my second question for you is, are your assignments going to be regional or team specific, or do you have any idea how that's going to work?
Yeah, well, again, I can only tell you what we've been told for the first 6 weeks. That's how they've approached it. They're doing it in 6 week chunks. I was hoping, I was kind of under the impression that it was going to be a little more regional than it actually looks like for the first 6 weeks. I'll tell you, I'm doing, well, for starters, I'm going to San Jose twice. So that's a 4-hour flight away. I'm going to Kansas City. I have one Austin home game in the first 6 weeks, and that's the Colorado Rapids game on March the 25th. So it's a little bit of a smorgasbord. I think I will get to do more Austin. I think they were very kind of careful about not putting people on the teams that they've become associated with right coming out of the gates. They've been they're very sort of cognizant about wanting to be a national show. So rightly or wrongly, they've taken the viewpoint that means taking people away from the teams that they most recently did. So Max Brados won't be doing LAFC, and Steve Cangelosi won't be doing the New York Red Bulls. There are, of course, exceptions to every rule, and some teams are getting to do the teams that they did last year. But they're mixing and matching, trying to keep people somewhat geographically. But you know, I think, you know, how I ended up going to San Jose twice is a mystery, because that's in no stretch of any vivid imagination is that local. So I will treasure my my Q2 assignments whenever they arrive. And actually, another thing I'm looking forward to is potentially getting to do Austin on the road, and actually being there for a road game. Because of course, even doing the last 2 years with the Verde and Black, we never actually got to travel. Well, we did travel once up to Dallas, but we didn't generally go on the road with them. Did every game from Q2, so that may come a little further down the line.
That'd be cool.
Kobe must have bribed the.
Yeah, he seems like he's got the home more than you. So I was gonna now, but if one reads your Twitter bio, there is still Austin FC digital / linear content in that. So. Maybe talk about what your plans are. Either you haven't updated your Twitter bio, which is, you know, happens from time to time, or like what do you see yourself doing for the club this year?
Well, the lack of updating is probably a sort of 100% certainty. But no, it is more by luck than accident. It is actually accurate. I think the club are going to make some announcement very early next week about it, so I probably shouldn't spill the exact beans, but I can tell you, yes, there'll be some form of what we were doing last year. Myself and Michael will be involved. There'll be some digital. You know, last year we did Match Day -1. There's going to be some version of that online. There's also going to be a TV. I can't really call it a pregame show, but it essentially will be that, like a half-hour studio show, which will actually be taped ahead of time, but it'll kind of act as a pregame show. I'm not sure what the latest plan is for when that will go out. Possibly on a Friday night before a Saturday game, but some sort of half-hour TV show. And I know myself and Michael will be part of that, and that's all I could say right now. But yeah, that was a big part for me of, you know, wanting to move forward, even though it was a brave new world with Apple. Like, what can we still do for the club to kind of continue what we loved doing last year? Really loved what we were able to do, particularly in year 2, so much with the pregame show at the stadium, and then the stuff during the week from up at St. David. So at least we'll still get to do some of that.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I really enjoyed all that content y'all did last year, so we'll be looking forward to that for sure. You said you're not going to get to do as much Austin FC broadcasting, so we want to give you a chance to talk about the team tonight. Yeah. What do you think of the off season so far? How would you grade them?
I think it's been a very solid off season, and that's such a naff word to use because it doesn't really mean anything, does it? But it has been kind of depth pieces and some important frontline pieces too. I think the loss of Ruben Gabrielson is being underestimated. I think he was a massive loss, and I do worry about that for a team who, you know, had their defensive issues even with him. So I do wonder what that means not having Ruben. And I know they've made several moves to deepen the defensive pool, but I would say I still have some defensive concerns. I think they've done a great job bolstering the number 9 position. I think Giassi Zardes could come in, and in this system could easily score 15 goals. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, he scored a goal every other game in his entire career with the Columbus Crew, which only ended a couple of seasons ago, and that was a similar system. And I think he's tailor-made to this system. I think he was a very smart get. I was sorry to see Moussa Djite go. Really sorry. I had a massive soft spot for him, and I always thought that there was there was a really good player in there that could be extracted, and we saw flashes of it, didn't we? And really would have loved to have seen him get another year. But I know from a personal perspective, and probably from what the club needed, it kind of made sense to do what they did. So a little tear was shed there. But
Yeah,
I think,
it's always hard to balance that, right? Like the emotional parts and then like the soccer parts of it, because there's like the same move can be a great idea and a great move and break your heart a little bit at the same time.
yeah, and we know what he had a baby that he hadn't seen for 6 months, and all sorts of perfectly great human reasons to want to want to be back in France. And yeah, one thing this club does, and they've clearly demonstrated that, is that they do let those factors be a major part. I mean, that was a big part of Ruben Gabrison going back. Was what was going on with his family. So
But it also may be one of the reasons why there's rumors coming out today that Sebastian Driussi is going to sign a contract extension.
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah,
I think that's the other side of that coin is if you take care of players, then they want to be here.
absolutely. It was funny when I was back in England. I told you I was there during the World Cup in December, and some of my friends there who do follow Austin quite closely had seen all the Leeds rumors, and they were getting worried. They were like, "Is Driussi going? Is Driussi?" I'm like, "Cool it, guys. Don't worry. He. I don't care if Leeds are interested in it. He loves it in Austin. He's found the perfect place. I reckon he's ours." And I didn't know, he was going to be turning around and signing a new deal as quickly. But that news today was absolutely fantastic. I mean, that's cause for celebration in the streets. It really is.
So Austin's going to be playing in a lot of competitions. Is there one
Yes.
that you're most looking forward to, or one that you think they have the best chance in, or think is most important?
Well, it's hard to look past the two sort of continental competitions, isn't it? Which will both be very, very different. I mean, CONCACAF Champions League is going to be a great adventure, and once they get past, should they get past Violet, we all hope they do. Then there's a Mexican team awaiting, and it's a storied, historic knockout competition, and it's just amazing to see them be a part of it in their just their third year. It's just remarkable. But I'm very excited about that, and strangely, almost more excited about the Leagues Cup, because I actually think we could do something. We could do some serious damage in the Leagues Cup.
I'm excited about this one too. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially because of the draw they got with the two Mexican teams at home, and then you get through that and you're into the round, and it's a World Cup, and it's one game and done, and I think it's going to be come July and August. I think it's going to be it's new. People are like sort of a little puzzled by it, but I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll get to cover it as well as part of this Apple deal, so that doubles my excitement about it.
Yeah. Do you feel like Austin? We talked about the offseason adding frontline and depth. Do you feel like this is a club that's deep enough now to make a run in a way that maybe they couldn't have last year? Obviously, the first season it was basically, do you have a pulse? Do you own cleats? Then show up at Q2 Stadium. But I mean, do you see Austin be able to compete on multiple fronts?
I hope so. I mean, it's it has been tough to do historically for teams that have a lot more experience at doing it than Austin do. It's particularly with the Champions League and coming early on in the season. We all saw how it derailed Seattle and Montreal last year. It's just very hard to do, balancing the demands of the league. So I'm very, very intrigued, just like everyone, to see how the coaching staff managed this, particularly when you think about how last year the whole of our league success was really predicated on making that great start. I mean, I was looking back at it just the other day, sort of refreshing some notes. I'm like, my goodness, at the end of April last year, we'd basically done the hard work already. We were 6-1-2. We were top of the Western Conference on 20 points. We only had to go 500 from that point on smoothly sail into the playoffs. So we really did that work early on, and this year it's going to be a lot harder to do that. I mean, the schedule is also tougher, but who knows where we're going to have to go next in the CONCACAF Champions League. So it's going to be tough. I think in the MLS prognosticating world, I've seen the exact opposite we saw last year. All the famous laminated predictions about us finishing 11th, 12th, and 13th, and everyone seems to be going the other way this year. All the national pundits are like, oh yeah, they're definitely top three in the West. Some even saying first and second. I'm a little more cautious about my year 3 predictions for us in the West. I don't think there's any doubt at all we're going to be right in the mix for a playoff place. But last year was so exceptional, and I know how hard it is to repeat in this league, no matter how good you are. And I look at how quickly things can change. I'm just a little more cautious about my expectations for us in the Western Conference this year. Because remember, a lot of teams, we also took advantage last year of a lot of teams having off years, like Seattle and Portland, Sporting Kansas City. I think all of those will be back gunning for playoff places. So it's going to be tough.
One thing Jeremiah has said on the show before is that it's possible and almost likely for us to be a better team this year and finish lower in the table. Like totally. Both of those things can be true and might be true.
Absolutely, totally agree. I mean, we could actually play better football and not come away with as many points. I mean, think about it. Last year against the Eastern Conference, we were 6-1, and we got a ton of points against the Eastern Conference last year. We're not even playing as many games against them this year, and it's going to be a dogfight in the West. I mean, it always is, but I think we will. Yeah, we have a deeper team, but we're going to need every ounce of that depth, and we just again, Sebastian Drusi is. He has another year like he did last year. If he turns out to be another, let's say, Sebastian Giovinco, and has 3 or 4 absolutely MVP caliber years in a row, then he'll take us with him, and we will be competing for honors every one of those years. That's one of my intriguing questions for this year. And can Mr. Emiliano Rigoni contribute too? That could be a big difference maker and it's a big if.
It is. Yeah, I have the belief. I mean, that just Driussi got so much better with an offseason connecting with the rest of the squad, and I believe that we will likely get the same for Rigoni, or maybe that's just like my hope and maybe not my actual belief. So before we let you go, you got a gig this weekend. You're getting back into your radio roots, right? Yeah,
well, I mean, how could I not in this great music city? I know you both love your music too, and I almost since day one of getting here, I've had KUTX on my radio almost constantly. What an amazing station it is, lucky enough to get asked to coincide with the start of the new MLS season to come in and do a My KUTX session. So that's gonna air this Saturday at 6 p.m. on KUTX, where I get to. I tell you, it's a hard task trying to pick songs just for an hour. I mean, I think I changed my playlist about 10 times before eventually recording it. So
I'm excited to hear it. I think last time I saw you was at the Soccer Assist fundraiser, and we got to talk about music in your radio days for a little bit. And yeah, I wasn't sure like what all kind of music you're into, and so I'm excited to hear it because you got good taste.
Yeah, well, I'll be interested to hear what you hear of it and how much you've heard of it. And you'll have heard of some of it. Others may be a little more obscure. I mean, I kind of do a chronological journey through stuff I've liked for my entire life. So it starts early in the 80s and then ends up in nearly the 2020s. So yeah, that was good.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah, My KUTX. What a great station. We're lucky to have it. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Lucky to have you guys too. Thanks for doing what you do.
Well, whatever. We've said this before. We'll say it again. The fact that like Adrian Healey answers our texts and emails is one of the coolest things about this whole experience.
I will tell the listeners that I recommended you to the very fine gentlemen who are going to be calling the Austin opener against St. Louis for Apple TV. That's Tony Husband from Nashville and Ross Smith from Portland. They are going to be a team, and they're coming in to do the opener against St. Louis. And Tony was asking me, so how do I get the pulse of what's going on in Austin and what are the fans talking about? And I was like, just Moon Tower Soccer every Tuesday morning. Give it a listen. That's all you need. So now he's going to hear me on there and think I was just blowing my own trumpet.
Well, you are far too kind, Adrian. Thanks so much for coming on the show and having done it in the past. Yeah, like Jeremiah said, we're thrilled to even be able to speak to you every once in a while. So thanks so much, and best of luck in this new season with MLS Season Pass.
Thanks, guys. Can't wait to get going, and can't wait to see you all at Q2 again. I'll be there on opening day. Can't wait. See ya.